Welcome to The Chase, a 2-week limited series on the Shallow End podcast feed about a collector's successful chase of a card, player run, or set. Today's story is unique from the rest because the collector thought he'd never get his card. He had all but resigned himself to knowing the card existed, but it would never be his because the person who did have it made it clear he did not want to part with it. But then, hobby magic happened. And the collector in today's episode, Jeremy Lee of Sports Cards Live, discovered there was a second card he did not even know existed. I'm Dave Schwartz. Thank you for tuning in to The Chase and to the Shallow End. I think you're going to enjoy this tale of success when it was originally thought that all hope was lost. We are welcoming in now somebody who is no stranger to the sports card scene, a friend of the Shallow End, and welcome to The Chase, Jeremy Lee. Thank you for being here. What is the chase we are talking about today?
Well, first, thanks for having me, Dave. Always great to be with you. So the chase that we're talking about today is this card here. It's a 2008-9 In the Game Ultimate Memorabilia, Ultimate Emblem of Wayne Gretzky. It's a 1-of-1. And again, this card came out in 2009, and I just got it last month, 16 years later.
So before we get into this hunt for a 16-year card, 16-year-old card, for maybe those who are not familiar with this set and with this brand, just give us a little bit of background about what it is.
Sure. So In the Game is a card company that was making cards in the hockey world from about 2000 until the mid 2010s, when they were acquired by Leaf, sold by Dr. Brian Price to Leaf Trading Cards, and Leaf still continues on with some of the brands. They were licensed by the NHL until the 2004-05 season, and in 5-6. Upper Deck got the exclusive, and they were no longer licensed, but they chugged along and continued to make some great cards. In the 2008-9 calendar card year in hockey, they released the 9th edition of In the Game Ultimate Memorabilia, so the 9th year in a row. And in that year, they debuted these Ultimate Emblem pieces with these patches that really dominate the card. No picture of the player, even just their last name at the bottom. And when these first came out, Dave, I fell in love with them and started buying them when I could. If I saw them at card shows or online on eBay, I would make a play. Sports card forums, different message board communities I would monitor to look for these. I was obsessed with them for probably about 5 years, and I managed to acquire about 85 to 90 of them over that time. And so that's the history of the product. Leaf still to this day, I believe, continues issuing the brand Ultimate Memorabilia under the In the Game banner. And yeah, that's the product that they came out of.
So when you started looking for it, was it one of those things where you start fast and furious and you get a bunch, but then it just the spout starts to tighten and it slows to a trickle, and you then struggle to start finding the rest?
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And In the Game was smart. They would always release the product like right around the Sport Card Expo in Toronto. So they would have a great redemption program at their corporate booth, and collectors would go there, open the product at the show to get these great redemptions. And around the show floor, people kind of knew that, that tall Jeremy guy over there, he's buying these things up. If you get one, maybe go see what he'll give you for it. So they would just kind of come to me at the booth. And I remember one day or one expo, I probably left with 8 or 9 of them. And it really got me started. But yeah, Dave, I would, again, monitor the online platforms, and eventually it slowed to a trickle. And nowadays, I've picked up maybe 3 or 4 in the last 5 or 6 years total. I mentioned I had about 90 of them. I actually went through my collection of these, and I culled a little bit, and I sold off about 15 that I just wasn't loving. The patches weren't interesting enough for me. So I did move out of some of them, but I currently still have about, I have 74 of these in my collection right now. And usually, even when I'm doing my own shows, you'll see 2 cabinets behind me that have that display 9 each. And I just love the cards, the colors, the excellent patches that were inserted into these cards. I kind of look at it as the best. I think they're the best cards in the game ever made. So I'm really proud to own the ones that I do.
So I'm really interested in this. So it sounds like you were not trying to complete the run then, because you sold some off. This is a silly question in a way, because Wayne Gretzky is Wayne Gretzky. But why was this one card of Gretzky so important to you when he has so many cards out there?
Well, it was important to this. We talk about our PC, but within your PC, you maybe have a bunch of sub PCs or PCs within the PC. So this 74 card collection of mine never had a Gretzky. It's got all the other. I've got a Gordie Howe, a Mario Lemieux, a Steve Yzerman, many of the other greats of the history of the sport. But I never had a Gretzky. And I've known that there was at least one out there. And I didn't even know that this card existed until I saw it on eBay in January. I saw it listed on eBay in January. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, there's a second Gretzky. I knew about the LA Kings version because the owner had shown it to me. He's a friend of mine. And he said, hey, look what I have. But he's a big Gretzky collector and he wasn't willing to move it. And it's so funny how timing works, Dave. But I had reached out, I reached out to him every couple of years and about that card and say, hey, any chance you want to sell me your Gretzky LA Kings? It's got the full LA, one of the crowns right in the patch window. And he said, well, never say never. I said, oh, so you would? He goes, well, you can make me an offer. So I made him an offer. He said no. Then I made him a few offers. How about this? How about this? Eventually I got to about 5 times my original offer. And he's like, nah, that's okay. I said, okay, well, thanks anyway. And then it was almost the next day that I saw this one on eBay. And I'm like, what? There's another Gretzky? I mean, I didn't know I forgot about the checklist now 15 years later. So I saw this. I'm like, well, I'm going to go for that. The seller had it on eBay with a buy it now or best offer. And it was more than I wanted to spend. So I made him an offer that was about half of the buy it now. And he auto rejected. And then I made him not auto, but he actually manually rejected. And then I made him another offer. I came up $100, and he countered me. I'll just tell you the numbers. It doesn't matter. He was asking $3,000. I offered 15. He rejected. I offered 16. He came back at like 2,700, and I rejected because I didn't want to spend that much money. And I thought, you know what? I'm just not going to be able to get that card. I'm not in a position right now to spend that much money on it. So I just kind of was willing to walk away. And then I was meeting with a Slab Sharks client of mine at a Tim Hortons restaurant. And he says to me, hey, check out these cards I'm looking to buy. And he shows me on his phone these cards that he's working with a seller on eBay to purchase. And I look at him, I go, oh, do those belong to Pinnacle? And he's like, yeah, that's Pinnacle. I go, wow. I go, those are amazing, great cards. Hopefully you get them. And then the light bulb went off. I said, hey, maybe you can try and work the deal to help us both out. Why don't you add the card I want into your ask and see if he'll sell you the 3? And I'm willing to pay X amount. And he said, well, let me try. So he sent a message off. And then we finished our meeting. I said, all right, well, I hope to hear from you. He called me like 3 hours later. He's like, all right, deal's done. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I got it. He goes, you have to come up $150, but I got you the card. And I'm like, okay, no problem. So I ended up getting it for like just over my second what my second offer was. And I was so ecstatic because I started to think to myself, Dave, like, if I would have logged into eBay and seen this card show up on my ended watch list with a sold indicator, I would have been heartbroken. I would have been like, I should have just hit the buy it now. I should not have let that go because this to me is it's like one of the, if not the crown jewel of this 74 card collection that I have. It's the Gretzky. It sits on top. And I keep it in a cabinet here with some of my other favorites from the collection, as you can see here. And it sits top middle in between Mario Lemieux and Gordie Howe. So I would have been heartbroken if I didn't get the card, and I was just so thankful to both the seller and my friend who made it work. And I feel I like you. It's one of those like you complete me sort of moments. You complete me.
That's great. So
Yeah.
it finally got there. What was it like then when it finally arrived and you were able to place it, like you said, between Howe and Lemieux, and you did it after what you said, 16 years?
Yeah, well, I was just so thrilled that it existed, and at first when I saw it online, I thought it's nice, but it's not the nicest one. And the more I looked at it, the more I just love it. I just love everything about it. And so, what happened was he said to me, "Okay, I sent him the money. He sent the money off to the seller, and he said it should be here. This was on Wednesday. Should be here by Friday." He calls me the next day. I guess he overnighted it to him. He says, "It's in hand. When do you want to meet?" I'm like, "I will come and get that right now." Like, I wanted that card. So, I drove to his house and I picked it up, and then as I'm driving home, I've got it in my hand. I'm looking at it, and I come home, and it's like, okay, well, this isn't a card that's going to sit in a box. This is going to be on display right here in this room. And I already had these two cabinets. I showed you the one. I have a second one as well. And I thought, well, it's going to go in my number one cabinet because I kind of have, my favorite 9 and then 9 more. And I had to decide, well, I got to take a card out of this cabinet to make room for this one. So how am I going to decide which one to take out? So I did a little reel on Instagram, and I asked for the community's help. Like, which one would you remove? And there were some that were off limits, of course. But I kind of went with the majority. With the card that they thought would come out. And the kind of leading factor to that was that every card that's in my cabinet there with the Gretzky is of a Hall of Famer or Alexander Ovechkin, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. And so I pulled out the Mika Kiprasov card, who was one of my favorite goalies of all time, played here for the Flames, for the Calgary Flames. And I just moved it into the other cabinet. And that whole process was a lot of fun because I got to involve my community on Instagram, the community, and get their thoughts. And it was just nice to hear from other people. And of course, it's nice when other people enjoy your cards. It was just nice to share this collection of mine with everybody. So it was great. And to this day, Dave, I mean, it's literally sits on my way out that door right there. And I look at it all the time. I will sit here on my chair, sip my coffee in the morning when I'm doing my office work or whatever, and I'll just turn around and stare at those two showcases, those two cabinets.
That's great. So you have a lot going on. You've got Sports Card Live every Saturday night, plus the other content that you're doing, work with Slab Sharks and others. You got a family, you got your PC, you got your collection. So you're not always dwelling on this set. But were there ever times over the years when you were thinking about this set and that Gretzky card where you thought, this isn't going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, no. Well, first of all, again, I didn't know that this one existed. So I knew that the LA Kings one existed, and I knew where it was. I've known where it was for a decade and maybe longer. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get that card unless something drastic happened. And even talking to the owner of it, the day before I discovered this New York Rangers piece, I realized that it's going to take like 5 figures probably to buy that card from him. He's not somebody who needs the money at all. He's got an excellent collection, and it would have been him breaking up. He's got a Gretzky collection, and within that, he's got these in the game cards that make up that sub Gretzky PC. And for him to break that up, I would have had to really made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And it's hard to do that with somebody who doesn't need the money. You really have to come out swinging harder than you ever would. And I was not at all going to be able to come up to the price that he wanted. I mean, it would have probably been 5 figures in US dollars. And I got halfway there, and I was like kind of biting my tongue thinking, please don't accept, because I don't want to spend that kind of money right now on that card. But yeah, it was so much. It was just so weird seeing it. I'm like, well, this thing exists. Oh my gosh. And then I kind of, came to terms that I'm not even going to get this one. And then when it happened, I was just like, I was almost, it was weird, Dave. It was this weird phenomenon where I felt like the thoughts of if I didn't get it were almost dominating my mind. I had it, but I was like, I was so concerned that what if I didn't get it? I would have been so mad at myself. And that is like a strong emotion. Even though I have it, I kind of felt like so lucky. Do you know what I mean? It was just a weird feeling. Like, it's just weird.
I do. I completely understand. So as we do wind down here, if you heard somebody else talking about their set and figuring they're going to give up, they're not going to worry about it, you've got this story in your pocket now about a card that not only did it suddenly appear, but you didn't know it existed in the first place. So how might you encourage somebody who is putting their own set together or we're looking for a card and they're just about to maybe say, you know what, I'm going to pack it in and not worry about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say be patient. And that happens to me, Dave. I've had conversations with people where they say, you know, yeah, I'm selling this set. You know, I can't find the last card, so I'm out. And I think to myself, you know, when I embark on a hobby, journey, a project like that, I don't put a deadline on it. Personally, I'm okay with a lifelong chase, you know, that might never be completed, a living set chase, if you will. I don't mind that for myself. And, you know, it just goes to show that with a bit of patience or maybe a lot of patience, cards will become available again. Cards will be opened up from old packs and made available to the public as, you know, the days, weeks, months, and years go by. So listen, everyone's different, but I would just say sort of be patient. You know, all hope is not lost. And this isn't the first time where I've found the last card, not the last, but well, because that's not, I will still buy more cards from this set if I find ones I like, but I've found cards that I've waited for years as well in other instances that are one of ones that finally came up. And it's an exhilarating feeling, especially if it's from something that you truly, truly care about. So be patient and understand that, yeah, cards are constantly being circulated.
I love the idea of a living set, a lifelong chase, and there never really being an ending. So, Jeremy, congrats on fighting the Gretzky. It's a gorgeous card. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me back.